All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Known Live. I'm Barb Nangle, the community manager at Known, and I'm actually at Known today, which is not usual. I have no power, as I'm sure many of you don't. And I'm really excited to welcome Alisa Bowen Mercado, who is a serial entrepreneur who has made lots of inroads. She's a pioneer for Black women entrepreneurs, and I can't wait to introduce her and have her tell you about all the cool stuff she has going on. Hey, Lisa.
Hi, Barb. How you doing?
I'm great. I am going to take a couple minutes to say a few things about Known, and then
Of
you're going to be
course.
able to take it away and talk about whatever you want. So, uh, Elise is going to be talking about being a serial entrepreneur and what it's been like to be a pioneer in at least a couple of different industries. But before we have her go into that, I want to talk a little bit about Known, which is a dynamic co-working community to connect people across their fields of expertise, endeavors, and experiences. Though we started as a co-working space in downtown New Haven, and by the way, we're still the only co-working space in downtown New Haven, we moved our community to the virtual world because of the quarantine. And as a result, we now have three virtual programs. So one is this one, which is Known Live. I'll talk more about what that means in a little bit. We also have Digital Media Sync, and I'm going to turn the camera and show you all to Julia Googe, the social media maven of Agents of Branding. She hosts Digital Media Sync every Tuesday morning at 8:30. And we also have Pivot Talk. This is a platform for businesses to share and learn as they grow. So Digital Media Sync, that's the show that Julia does on Tuesday mornings. It's your window to the digital world. So no matter how experienced or how little experienced you are with digital media, this is the place for you to learn how to use the tools. Known Live, which is this show, is a place for entrepreneurs, artists, creators, thinkers, educators, and community members to share who they are, what they do, who they serve, and how. And Pivot Talk is a virtual stage for businesses to share as they learn and grow. If you or anyone you know would like to be on any one of those shows, please message me. You can do that in the comments right now, or you can email me, barb@knowncoworking.com. And our purpose in the physical and in the virtual world is to make connections between people. We're here to help you get connected, get inspired, and get known. Without further ado, I would like to introduce Alisa Bowen Mercado. Yay!
Hi. You know
We're
what? It's
super
so,
excited you're here.
I am so excited to be here. I have a special place in my heart for your organization, what you've done, community, because this is all about community. And before we came on live, I think I was expressing that. When you're building something, if you don't have the support of family, friends, and community, then
Mm,
you know you'll move and you'll do certain things, but at the
mhm.
end of the day,
Right.
when you have a community that rallies behind you and people and
Mhm.
teams that want to work with you, it just
Absolutely.
entrepreneurs lives so much easier. So thank you for the invite. I'm so excited
Absolutely.
to be here,
Yeah.
and just talk about being
Yeah.
an entrepreneur in these
Yeah.
times.
Yeah, in these crazy times. So
Yeah.
I do want to take a minute to tell my journey of knowing about you. So I first heard of Elisa's House of Salsa because I saw it in the window on Chapel Street. And at one point, like I think 11 years ago, a friend of mine convinced me to do salsa lessons and he bought a 6 class card.
That's
And
right.
after the third one, I'm like, I want to watch people dance. That's what I want. I don't want to go through the process of
Barb, you
learning.
could have been professional by now.
I know, and I only
I'm
kept doing it.
sure.
But I've heard about you, and we have a lot of overlapping circles. And then I am part of a networking group called the Collaboration of Minority Women Professionals. And you were the speaker a few weeks ago, and I had no idea how deep and long your entrepreneurial journey was. In the meantime, before that even happened, Julia had been saying, we got to get Elisa on here. She's like exactly the kind of entrepreneur that we want to profile. So when I
Yeah.
saw you on there, I was like, we are getting this woman. And I heard, you tell your story. I was like, oh my God, she's even more perfect than I thought. And so
Oh,
it's just really exciting to be here. And I also want to give another plug to the Collaboration of Minority Women Professionals. And
oh my
if you
gosh.
didn't become a member, Alisa, I want you to, but I also really wanted to thank you because I know that you pledged a free membership to somebody
I
that day that was
did.
on the thing.
It's about paying
Yeah,
it forward. You have to pay
yeah,
it forward. You have to open
yeah.
doors for other women, women and minorities in business. Because
Hmm.
and so it was my honor to hopefully have someone take what they're doing, their passion,
Yeah,
move along with the organization. So it's great to
absolutely.
be connected with both.
Yeah. So I was really inspired to hear that you actually started in the construction business. Do you want to start there?
Yeah, let me bring you back to my
Okay.
let me bring you back to hard hat and my working
Okay.
tech. So I come from a family of entrepreneurs. Mom and dad still running a construction company after 60, uh, actually 55 years. Yes,
55 years. Oh my goodness.
yes.
Wow.
You know, my dad operating engineers, my mom, who of course ran the entire office. So my brother and I had no other choice but during the summer, um, we had to go to the office and we had to work. And so
Hmm.
my brother would go with my dad, I would go into the office with my mom. And so
Hmm.
I think at an early age, we were injected with that, entrepreneurial spirit. Like with anything that you want in life,
Hmm.
you're going to have to work hard for it.
Hmm.
But my
My
mom,
dad's an entrepreneur, so who you telling?
right?
Yeah, yeah, yep, yep, yep. I got off the bus at 8 years old at
See,
at my father's pharmacy. Yeah, and I started working there for pay when I was 12.
see for pay, right? We
Yeah,
just,
yeah, for pay. I worked for free before that.
of course, we got lunch. We got really
Yeah.
good lunches at, like, I remember Penguins was around the corner because our office was on Joy Street. So Penguins, I was like, all right, am I going to
Okay.
get like a sausage and grinder today, or am I going to get the turkey and cheese? So that was like the big thrill of the day. But I
Yeah.
got to see their hard work, and I got to see
Hmm.
the back office end of the stuff.
Hmm.
And I think that's how, in the construction at that point, I was a teen. I went to college, fast forward, go to college, come home, and there wasn't a lot of women in construction back in the early 90s. And because I was at Northeastern, I decided to do a semester working with my parents in college. And so I was very
Hmm.
familiar, but I saw there that there were not a lot of, again, women, not a lot of people of color in the construction.
Hmm.
And I said, you know what? I hear about companies all the time passing their, you know, the passing their work, their businesses down to their children. And I said, you know what? I said, if somebody's going to take it over, then let me just kind of, put my brains and what I learned as a teen into
Hmm.
the family business. And I did that for 13 years.
No
And
kidding.
yeah, so it was paralleling. I was like, I would say it's not my first rodeo in a white male dominated field, because I had a little experience, well, a lot of experience for 13 years in
Hmm. Hmm.
construction. But I will tell you that experience of hopefully opening doors and sitting on like uh, ad hoc committees made a change. Hopefully, would make a change and difference in what we see today in construction.
Hmm.
But working with the family, that's actually how it started. And then, of course,
Hmm.
I go on business to Puerto Rico
Hmm.
through construction through the SBA, and I end up at the El San Juan Hotel. And the rest is that was 20 years ago, and I haven't stopped dancing salsa since. So that's the transition. That was a transition. That's when I got into salsa.
That's fantastic. And now we have Elisa's House of Salsa, a mainstay in New Haven.
We have 20 years, Barb. I will tell you,
Wow.
years. We are never thought I'd be celebrating 20 years like this, in the middle of a pandemic. I just knew that in September, Lisa's House of Salsa would have this humongous dance party with bands coming from in all over the country, and salsa presentations and performances, and you, you know things changed, and
Mhm.
things happened. But we're still here. Again, like I said, we're going to be here for another 20 years at the House of
Mhm.
Salsa. So I tell people all the time, we're not going anywhere. We're just not dancing right now. But the House of Salsa has been a blessing, because it took my construction hat, which I gave for 13 years. And I was able to say at 30 years old, peace of mind or financial security. And at 30 years old, after being in construction for quite some time, I ended up saying, you know what, I'm going to go dance and I'm going to be a poor little old artist. And that was that, and all of my fellow artists or artist people, you know, in the area can really relate to that, because at that point it was like, you know what, I want to just go dance salsa and have fun in life. And tell my parents I love them, and I gave my time in construction, but it was time for Alisa to move on and go salsa my way into another profession.
So you basically traded in the hard hat for the heels.
I sure did, the glittery heels. Yeah, you know what? It's funny because I have back then my closet. When you looked in my closet, I had Jones of New York business suits and closed-toed, you know, heels, and I was wearing stockings back then, you know, for business meetings and briefcases and all that good stuff when I wasn't out in the construction field. And then, you know, my closet changed to like silver glittery stilettos and like short red dresses.
Did you ever get mixed up and wear the wrong outfit to the wrong place?
Oh, girl, well, to get too hot, you have to wear stockings to salsa. And I definitely had open toe shoes. So the closed toes did not work for Alisa. I was just like, Yeah. So, but it was great because it was symbolic, because my closet showed that I went from one kind of extreme to something else. But more importantly, at 30, I really said, you know what? It wasn't about the money. You know, because in construction, there's a lot of money involved, and you know, you're getting these larger contracts. But at that point in life, I said, you know what? I said, I just want to go dance and be happy, and be honest, and you know, that's what happened 20 years ago. But I just love the fact that we've had community support for that long, but we've been able to interject ourselves in the community and be there for, like, you know, youth organizations, senior organizations, schools, you know, downtown New Haven. I think I've salsa danced in every single bar and restaurant in New Haven ever. So, you know, it was just always doing that, but more importantly, just doing what I love to do, and that was dance. And so here we are.
Well, and you know what's really interesting to me? It's clear, you know, with your entrepreneurial spirit, that it wasn't just I want to dance, it's I want to build a house of salsa and turn it into a business and all that sort of thing. So was that the idea initially, or did you sort of come to that?
I came to that, but quickly, because I'm like, you know what, if Fred Astaire and Arthur Murray can have like these chains of, you know, dance studios, then and those are more ballroom. And I didn't want, you know, Puerto Rico, I want to just go dance salsa. I'm not waltzing. I don't have like a number tag like on my back. Like, I'm not doing a competition. I just wanted, and trust me, I love all of my ballroom folks out there. They're amazing because they contribute to the dance scene. But I will tell you, I at no point ever, like, just I was like, I'm gonna build a brand. Like, let me build a brand. Alisa's House of Salsa, for people that are just that want to dance normal salsa and get out to Puerto Rico, and they can feel good and go on the dance floor. So, but of course, that my entrepreneurial brain and spirit, I just couldn't open up a dance studio. I had to think, you know, getting a chain of these things.
Right. Yeah.
Or, but then the demand grew. It absolutely grew overnight, because it's nothing like New Haven. We were the first official Latin dance studio here, right downtown Houston, and it took off. It took off.
That's fantastic. 20 years. That's.
I don't know where it has gone, but I am just incredibly.
It went by on the dance floor.
It did. I shimmied. I've shimmying for 20 years. You know, I think I have a little bit of separation anxiety. So for all those entrepreneurs out there, people that were doing what they love to do, and then immediately within like a couple of weeks you had to stop. I totally get that. It's almost like, you know, you've got to like go through these steps of grief and it's not anger, but it's just like you're frustrated because I went from 20 years of moving to do, for 3 months, just saying, oh my gosh, what am I, going to do? But um, it's just, you just keep the faith, you keep moving. I dance on Zoom, so I'm able to connect with
Good for
folks
you.
still in
Yeah.
the.
And do you want to? I have to tell you, I absolutely love the name of your brewing company, Rhythm Brewing. It makes so much sense, especially when people didn't know the story about Elisa's House of Salsa. Do you want to go into that now, or is there more you want to say about the
No,
House of Salsa?
I will tell you, people, I would tell people all the time, they go, listen, I can't dance. And I'm like, that's fine. I'm like, because if you couldn't dance, then I wouldn't have Elisa's House of Salsa for 15,
Excellent
20
point.
years.
Yeah,
So I'm
good
like,
point.
I need your left feet. And so they
Hmm.
would always say, if she can't find if she can find a rhythm, then you just might not have it. And so it became a joke.
Yeah.
Go to Elisa, she's the rhythm finder.
Uh-huh.
If you have, she'll find it. And so, Barb, I will tell you, it was kind of like no, I will tell you, it was, at first, I will be very honest, I didn't want to intersect the salsa and the beer.
Okay.
I didn't want those two connected. I wanted them
Interesting.
to have their own. Yes. At first, I was coming up with all these different names that had nothing to do with the dancing, nothing to do with rhythm, nothing to do with the dance. It's like,
Hmm.
okay, I've got this salsa, that's my firstborn. And now I'm gonna, whatever this beer company is gonna be called, and I wanted them to be separate.
Hmm.
But then the more I thought about it, I said, I sunk 20 years into dancing. This is who I am. And so I knew I couldn't
Hmm.
separate it. And the
Hmm.
more,
Right.
I did some graphs and I did some strategic planning and,
Hmm.
names, I would cross off names. And then I will tell you, we were down at Zafra in New Haven. I will tell you how we came up with the name.
Okay.
And Dominic, we were throwing name ideas, and Dom was one of the first people to try the beer because he loved craft beer and bringing craft beer into his restaurant. And he's like, "No, you got to stick to my
Yeah.
husband's there, and he's shouting out names and tempo and beat, Rhythm Brewing Company, and this that, and then all of a sudden the word rhythm just comes out." And it really honestly was a no-brainer. And we said, you know what,
Yeah.
you're right, Rhythm Brewing Company. It's just, and then that's when it all clicked, and then that's when all of the taglines and all of
Yeah.
the momentum just happened, and then the logo and the design just kind of all came together. So now it's great because when I go to beer festivals,
Fantastic.
well, pouring beer, I could salsa, and the
Salsa.
music,
Oh,
right?
right. And it
So that's
makes, because you're the brand. I mean, Elisa, is the brand. So that's so great that you married the two like incredibly disparate things. You were able to pull them together. I mean, I think that's just a beautiful story. I would like to back up because you kind of glossed over how you even got to I'm going to become a brewer. How did that happen?
I know, right? It's like I woke up, I have like this thing, and I was like, no, I'm gonna bring you back to the exact point of when
Okay,
I this was
great.
gonna and let me preface this by saying that both of my grandmothers, they loved lagers. They liked, on occasion, they liked to sip on their beer. And
Okay.
so back in the day, there was these little ponies of Miller and, those Miller High Life bottles. And
Hmm.
as a 2-year old, I would see my grandmothers like drinking these things. And of course, it resembled a bottle. So I
Hmm.
was like, I just wanted to be cool. And I
Hmm.
always was interested in their bottle.
Hmm.
And so that's going back to the 70s. And,
Okay.
and then fast forward, my downtime, people were like, well, what do you do when you're not salsa dancing? I'm like, I love going to breweries. I love, I'll go have a cigar, and I love live music. So if you can put three of those things in one place, I'm
Yeah.
golden. Just
Yeah.
shoot me,
Yeah.
send me there, and and I'm
Yeah.
fine. But my husband and I were in Cape Cod at a beer festival, and we're walking around. Of course, we're sampling beer, and
Hmm.
I noticed a couple of things. There were not a lot of women, number one, and if they were there, they weren't there really for the beer. They were there
Tagging
tagging
along.
along.
Hmm.
And I'm just like, okay, I was there for the beer, but I was looking for the beer that could, please my palate. And then there
Hmm.
were not a lot of people of color
Hmm.
at this beer festival. And I'm like, well, we're in Cape Cod, so You
It's
know, I
pretty
just,
white
you
there.
know,
Yeah.
maybe it's right, maybe it's just graphics. So I just kind of my wheels started spinning, and at one point I looked over at my husband because everything was not really. There's like porters and sours, and there's IPAs and triple IPAs and double IPAs, and I looked at him. I said, you know, do you think they have like a Bud Light here? You know, at a craft beer festival? And he goes, you can't say that at a craft beer festival.
Well, you can, but you're gonna get kicked out.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
right. He goes, we're gonna get kicked out. He's like, don't say that loud. And I looked at him and I'm like, at this point, I don't care. I go, I want something normal. I want something, and I wasn't being a diva or being bratty. I just wanted to taste something that reminded me of my grandmother's and that reminded me of what my palate was used to. So on the ride home, he goes, "My gosh, you're so quiet. I'm never quiet." And so he knew I was thinking about something, and he goes, what are you thinking about? And I looked at him and I go, I'm gonna make my own beer. And that was it. That was 5 years ago. And
Wow.
the wheels started turning. And I will tell you that my entrepreneurial spirit kicked right in because I knew at that beer festival that there was an underserved demographic. There was a need for women in the market. There was a need for people of color who spend trillions of dollars annually in different markets, especially in a billion-dollar beer industry. I knew that there was something that was completely missing. And
Right.
so, Barb, at that point, it became bigger than me getting a really good recipe, getting it. I was on a mission to change the face and the taste of the industry. And that's really actually where it started.
Did you brew at home initially?
No, listen, I had enough stuff in my kitchen and in my bathroom. I, my husband thought I was crazy already, like saying I was going to start brewing because I'm in the middle of this salsa, which was beyond successful. I'm doing gigs all over the place. And so, but no, I was not brewing at home. And this is the
Okay.
great thing about it. There's a lot of home brewers, and that's good because, you know, they make their own beer. I knew in my brain what I wanted my beer to taste like. So how was I going to make that happen? How was I going to converge that into my brain, my palate, into a tank of beer? It's called research. You have to research. I had to research flavor profiles. I had to research ingredients. What makes a lager? What do you should use in a lager? And then you have to team up with some really good brewers here because I wasn't brewing in my basement or bathtub or kitchen, and bring it to them and say, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I want. Can you make what I'm thinking in that 5-gallon batch of beer? And that's how I processed that. But it was really about 3.5 years of recipe development, design, and research of the industry.
Yeah, so it's really interesting that it's so clear this entrepreneurial spirit that you're talking about because I know lots of people, all of them guys, as a matter of fact, who I love beer, I love beer, I love beer, I'm going to start brewing, and they brew in their house for
Yeah.
themselves and maybe for some friends, but it never even occurs to them, I'm going to start a company and sell stuff. So obviously this theme of the entrepreneurial spirit is woven through. And also I really love, you're thinking about there's this whole underserved market out there.
Yeah.
And what do I got to do to make it happen? I'm not doing it in my bathtub.
Right.
And so clearly you said you loved going to breweries and stuff. So you had already built relationships with brewers, I'm assuming. And that's, that was actually how we started this conversation is this notion of community. I mean, I learned a long time ago, if you want to get anything done in this world, it has to start with building relationships.
Oh, yeah.
And so you'd already built these relationships with people. You took your entrepreneurial spirit and you brought it with you and you were like, listen, help me build this flavor profile.
Right.
So I really don't know much about rhythm brewing. So do you have a brewer or do you have multiple brewers or breweries? How do you work it?
So we were fortunate to team up in the beginning, and it was all about creating relationships. Because don't forget, I'm in a new space. I'm in the brewing space. I've 20 years in salsa. I know the salsa community, but now I'm in a space, and so I've got to make some inroads into the brewing space. I've got to introduce myself. I've got to team up with the best of the best in the business, and so I align myself. I call him my beer consultant. And this gentleman who, and this is how crazy things work. In Westville, I have a neighbor who owns a real estate company. His brother-in-law is like the beer connoisseur of Connecticut. And
No
so
kidding.
oh, I'm telling you, it's
Talk
so
about
good.
relationships. There you go.
Yes, and see, and I tell people all the time, don't ever burn bridges, no matter where you are, because you don't know where that next lead is going to go to. I would say treat people nice and give people the opportunity to, people should be working together. But with that said, I was able to team up with a gentleman who basically made probably 10 calls and had a one-on-one personal VIP tour of every single brewery
Nice.
in Connecticut. And this is Alisa. She wants to get into the beer business. Please tell her the pros, the cons, and if you don't mind, let's sip some beer and show her.
Nice.
And it was incredible. I went from these small, tiny breweries to these massive breweries. And so I met all of the owners. I met all the brewmasters, and I will tell you, the industry is so welcoming.
Oh,
The
good.
beer industry here in Connecticut, they're fantastic.
Awesome.
So it was a great beginning, and I'm like, that really kind of like then just motivated me more. Some people, I will be honest with you, wanted to see more color in the industry, wanted to see more women, so they didn't have a problem sharing their experiences with me, and that's how I kind of moved on in.
Yvette's shouting out to you.
Hi, Yvette. How are you? I am so, my salsa people now are like my beer people. And, I've met so many wonderful folks along the way, that it's just great. So the shout outs and the people that send me encouragement and, just well wishes. I just want to take this time to just publicly just tell everyone, I just from the bottom of my heart, there's no words actually for the respect and the pride that I get from hopefully making people proud and making a change. This is what it's about. It's about making a difference for folks.
So you've met all of these different brewers, you've gone to these breweries, you've tried all the beers. How did you hone in on who were you going to work directly with?
Well, I will tell you, I had to weed some people out.
Of course.
You have to weed some people out. There's some people that are not happy that you're in this space, and I will let's be very clear. I'm getting into a male-dominated field, and when I kind of broke into or shimmied on the beer dance floor,
I love it.
I kind of shook, and there was some folks in the industry that were like, well, why does she always have press with her? Why are people following her around? Why do they want this story? Okay, she's the first African American in the state of Connecticut, history, and what's the big deal about that? So there was some people that did not wish me well, because it's like, well, what's she doing different that we're not doing? And I think people like that, number one, I weeded them completely out, but they miss the bigger picture. It's not what you're not doing, it's what the industry was not doing. And hopefully I'm here to add a little color and spice and seasoning to this beer industry, that there's more people that look like me that want to jump in. And then guess what? There's more people that will go and support you and buy your stuff.
Right. Yeah. We all win. We all win.
We all win. And some people, they don't get it. So it goes completely over their head. So when that happens, I check, I make a mental note, and I just know wasn't a good fit, and there's no harm done, but it's just like there's people that I know that I wouldn't, that you just don't work with. Because like I said, trying to all move in the same direction. I just have a different, I'm doing things a little differently than what everybody else was doing in the industry. But hey, that's what women do when we get into stuff.
Right. Yeah. Agreed. And I really love your metaphor of adding like color and spice, etc., to the brewing industry. I mean, that's such a nice metaphor, especially for something that people imbibe.
Yeah.
Great.
Oh yeah, and that's what people want. You know what? I'm right now. I always say the country needs to find a new rhythm. We really do. We need to find a new rhythm. I always say whether even if it's one sip at a time. I think if we can find a new something, because no
Mm.
one wants to go back. I mean, we have in 3 months we've dealt with a pandemic crisis. We've dealt with racial injustice and inequality, and I think the tides have turned and changed,
Mhm,
and I
mhm.
don't think anybody wants to go back to the
Yeah.
to normal. I personally, if you know if that was normal, then let's keep it over there. But right now,
Right. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
everybody needs to find a
Yeah.
new rhythm. They're a
Yeah.
rhythm again in life.
Yeah.
So metaphors are they speak true and
Right.
near to my heart, because that's what I really feel
Yeah.
every day. I wake up and I
Yeah.
say, okay, mission to to change something.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a big fan of metaphors myself.
Oh
So
yeah, analogies,
you
metaphors.
weeded some folks out and you hone in on, so who and where does the brewing of Rhythm Brew happen?
Yes, so shout out to my, as a matter of fact, I was there yesterday. I was in Oxford at Black Hog. So shout out to Black Hog. That whole team over there, they are incredible. Tyler, who's the head brewer.
Mhm.
Then we've got, Tom and his brothers, so Tom and Jason, the Sobosinskis, they've got the restaurants, so they're just amazing. They're at the stack. So I grew there, and it's great because they want me. I want to learn. They want to
Mhm.
teach. I want to add something to maybe what they weren't doing before. So
Mhm.
it's and when I come in with different folks, we had the Mohegan Sun yesterday doing a story on Rhythm Brewing Company.
Oh, cool.
We get in their way for a little bit, but they don't mind because they know that this is all good. It's a win-win
Mhm.
for all of
Win,
us.
win, win, it sounds
It's
like.
a
Yeah.
win. And so I really respect them, their business practices, what they do, and I'm comfortable because again, as a brewer,
Mhm.
I have learned, a lot. And I've been collaborating more than ever now. And so I'm brewing next to some of the best brewers in the country. And
Mhm.
so I'm really, really, really learning a lot. So yes, shout out to Black Hog in Oxford, where all of the rhythm magic happens.
Awesome. Fantastic. And I think when I saw you at the collaboration, or maybe it was when I talked to you in preparation for this show, you mentioned something about Two Roads. What was going on with them?
Oh, yes. That was an incredible collaboration. And again, that was kind of bigger than this beautiful, delicious stout that we made, which, by the way, sold out in 48 hours.
48
Yes.
hours? Oh my goodness. I guess it's good.
It was really, it's real. I must say, it was an excellent, excellent, excellent stout. But let me tell you the backstory of that. Black is
Okay.
Beautiful is a global initiative where, after, George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, people were just saying, what can we do to mend this country, bring people together? Like,
Hmm.
different things were being thrown out. But I will tell you, there was a brewing company in Texas, Weathered Souls, and they said, listen, we're going to send you a recipe. We're going to send you the same label. And we want all of you brewers to get together. You can brew collectively, individually, but we want this stuff in tap rooms, on the shelves, curbside, pick up to go, what have you. And Barb, I will tell you, over 1,000 breweries. That's why I said the beer industry is just
No
incredible
shit. Wow. That's great.
around the globe. Got
Wow.
together, participated. But my collaboration with Two Roads, and I'm like pinching myself. I'm like, because when you can brew next to Phil Markowski, the head brewer at Two Roads, it's like there's nothing like that. It's like almost like a beer dream come true, because you
Yeah.
look up to them, as mentors and people that have
Hmm.
been super successful right here in Connecticut, and now they're
Hmm.
global and they distribute, internationally.
Hmm.
Just to
Hmm.
have that time to meet him and talk to him and brew next to him was just incredible, and one of the nicest guys in the world. And
Awesome.
plus, we raised money for two incredible charities. Uh, Strong Together, Education Strong in Stratford, and the Boys and Girls Club here in New Haven. So that
Awesome.
100% of the proceeds went to those two incredible organizations. So we're
Fantastic.
just
So win, 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 win.
Win. It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. And the
Yeah.
wonderful thing is our collaboration and our networking with Two
Hmm.
Roads is not going to stop there either, because I
Hmm.
think we all have to take a step back and take a
Hmm.
deep breath, and really on our release date, on when people came in, of course we were social distancing,
Hmm.
but the diversity of people that walked through the doors, we
Hmm.
had to really sit back, and it was profound because I don't we hadn't really seen that. And that's what we wanted. That's what it was all about. And it opened up doors to communications, and further conversations for
Hmm.
how we, myself and Two Roads, can work together in the near future.
Hmm.
So,
Fantastic. I love it. So you really haven't said much about what it was actually like for you, either in the construction industry or in the brewing industry, as a Black woman breaking into a not just male dominated, but white male dominated environment. And I wonder if you have any recommendations or words of wisdom that you can give to especially women of color, but women in general breaking into male dominated areas, or even people of color breaking into white dominated businesses and industries, about like what got you through and what were the
yeah,
most difficult things you had to overcome and how did you overcome them, and any
yeah.
words of wisdom there. We'd love to hear that
Oh,
stuff.
absolutely. I will tell you, if there's anyone out there that's getting into a field that is underserved, um, by being a person of color, a female,
Hmm.
that should motivate you more to get into that field.
Hmm.
And I will tell you why. That means that there were some people that might have didn't have thick skin, maybe like I do, that got
Hmm.
into that and heard so many no's and got so many looks and stares. When I was in construction, they always thought that I was the interior decorator, and I was going to put the carpet and the wall color. And there's nothing wrong with that. I love interior design. But
Hmm.
no one thought that I was a Black woman sitting in the room that was actually building the building. I'm
Right.
building the building. I'm going to
Yeah.
hire someone to pick out the wall colors and the floor tiles.
Hmm.
I'm building it. And so, but there's some people that might not have that gumption or the gall to just say, you know
Hmm.
what? I'm going to do this, because you're doing it for other people. And I always
Hmm.
have that sense of, if you're going into something that you're going to be the only one that looks like
Hmm.
you in that room, that's even
Hmm.
more reason to
Hmm.
leap out on faith, say a prayer, dive in, and hope there's water in
Hmm.
there. Because what's
Hmm.
at the end of the day, you will survive.
Hmm.
You'll repel,
Hmm.
but then what's going to happen is you're going to release, you're going to build, you're going to show, you're going to change the face of something, an
Hmm.
industry.
Hmm.
Whether you get into, it doesn't matter what you get into, you will be that one that's going to unlatch that key, or just
Hmm.
turn that
Hmm.
door so that others can get through. So
Hmm.
I just tell people all the time, just, if you're thinking it, just believe it, and
Keep
go for it.
going. Yeah,
And the
yeah.
no's that I heard, to be honest with you, I mean, they didn't want to, in construction, they were like, oh yeah, we're not going to give her any, like, she's in her 20s, what does she know about construction, what is she
Hmm.
going to do, we're not going to, so I heard no all the time. But of course I have parents who were right there, that supported me in
Mm.
all of this. The beer, I walk into accounts where I'm selling my beer, and I've got to go through the 5 different things. First of all, they're like, well, you're looking for the owner for what? Aren't you just here to consume? Like, aren't you just a consumer? Then when I
Hmm.
say beer, then I've got the other 5 heads, because they're
Hmm.
like, well, aren't you like, if you're going to be in something, why you're not in like the wine aisle, or you're not, selling cognac? And
Hmm.
then, I actually own the company. I'm like the brand.
Right.
So in by 10 minutes, I've bitten my tongue so many times, but you learn that as
Hmm.
being an entrepreneur,
Hmm.
um, that after 5 minutes of explaining of why you're there, and I know it's because I'm getting all of this because I'm a woman of
Hmm.
color
Hmm.
in this beverage, industry.
Hmm.
And I think it's therapy that I actually sit there and I take it, because I'm like, you know what? This is going to change.
Interesting. Yeah.
I go,
Interesting
this
spin.
woman.
It's therapy for you. Wow.
It is. I just process it, and I go woo-sa and my under my
Hmm.
breath, and I keep
Hmm.
asking all of the answering all of the questions that I know are just like very sexist and, but you know what? I just do it because at the end of the day, I'm
Mhm.
usually selling a couple of cases of my beer and fist
Mhm.
bumping or
Mhm.
handshaking
Mhm.
pre-COVID. And
Mhm.
there's a respect there. But I'm like, I should not have had to have gone through that to
Mhm.
just to prove that.
Right.
But
Well, you did. And it sounds like you're using it as an opportunity to educate the person,
absolutely.
you
Oh,
know, and I
absolutely.
think, but you mentioned from the beginning, you have thick skin. It's not for everybody to be I mean, that's why you're called a pioneer because you do things that other people don't have the gumption to
Right.
do. So, yeah.
I welcome people. I will tell you, when the calls, people go, oh, Lisa, we know you're kind of busy. No, I'm not ever too busy. That's one thing
Mm,
about me. And if anyone's out there listening, and Barb, I always love your invites. So if there's ever, we get a panel of women who are going into male dominated fields.
awesome.
Let's
Oh
yeah,
my God, that would be
yeah,
great.
let's do it because they need to hear, these stories. I'll give them some thick skin.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Well,
listen. I
listen,
used to own a construction company, so
yeah, yeah, right. So we only have a couple minutes left. Is there anything that you wanted to share today that you haven't had an opportunity that I haven't asked you about?
I love sharing, and no, thank you for this opportunity. Again, it's all about networking. It's all about collaboration. Look to the left, look
Mm-hmm,
to the right, look in front
mm-hmm,
of you, look behind you. There are people in your
mm-hmm,
circle, or people that are not even in
mm-hmm,
your circle, that
mm-hmm,
literally can make a difference. And
mm-hmm,
you just have to have those conversations and those lines of communication always open, because
mm-hmm.
I will tell you, in 2 years, we've only the brand for the beer has been out on 2 years, but what's happening, and that's through collaborations, and that's through the support. The brand has legs now, and it really is it's going in a wonderful direction. We're just very excited about the future. But I will
Yeah,
tell folks at any time, and reach out to me. Again, I'm
yeah.
very much into community. I'm
Right,
very
and
much.
actually, let me put your, I've got all of
Okay.
your social media up, but I want to put your websites up for both Rhythm Brewing and
Yeah,
Lisa's
have
House
people
of
contact me,
Salsa. And
please.
hopefully this show will also expand things out. So
Thank
again, I want to thank you so much,
thank
Alisa,
you
not
so
just
much,
for
Barb.
being on the show, but for being the pioneering woman that you are.
I appreciate it.
So thank you again for this. And I'm just going to take a moment to tell folks, and if you want to hold on and we
Yeah.
can chat for a minute
Oh,
in
of
the studio
course.
afterwards,
Yes,
that would
yes.
be great.
But thank
So,
you.
oh, you're so welcome. I'm so glad this was fantastic.
Yeah.
So I want to thank everybody for watching and let you know what we have coming up next week. You can catch these shows on Known Live, but all of our shows, including this one, will be recorded and placed on our Known co-working website. And even if you're watching this after the fact, you can go ahead and make comments and we'll make sure that they get to Alisa. And so on Tuesday, the 11th of August, on Digital Media Sync at 8:30, Julia will have Gina Bingham from the New Haven Public Library, and she'll be featuring digital media services for free digital media services for businesses. Actually, I'm saying this backwards. Monday, the day before that, on the 10th, Pivot Talk at 10 a.m. will feature Craig Hutchinson from Olmo Kitchen talking about what they've done to pivot during this COVID environment. And then next Thursday at 10 o'clock on Known Live, we're going to have it's called Pursuing Artistic and Creative Dreams with Amira Brown, who's a New Haven artist. So again, don't forget to join us on knowncoworking.com and look under events and programming and join us for our virtual program. Thanks again. Take care. Bye now.